Let's talk about power. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that whispers. The subtle, almost invisible influence that can shape relationships, careers, and, yeah, even the course of history. Today, we're diving into a book that treats this very idea as a high art. Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction. Now, it's a pretty controversial guide, for sure, but it uses some of history's most fascinating figures to break down the psychology of attraction. Robert Greene kicks things off with this quote from the philosopher Jean Baudrillard, and honestly, it's the key to the whole book. What he's saying is real seduction isn't about being obvious. It's the total opposite. It's about creating mystery, a little bit of enchanting confusion. You create these gaps, this ambiguity, and you let the other person's imagination run wild, filling them in. The real power? It's in getting their mind to do the work for you.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to reframe seduction. It's not just about romance. It's a form of power. Then, we'll meet 4 of Greene's master seducers, these archetypes, and really dig into their playbooks. And finally, we'll pull back the curtain on the one psychological secret that Greene says is the engine behind it all. Okay, first things first, we have to completely rethink what the word seduction even means. According to Greene, it's got very little to do with just courtship. He argues it's this incredibly sophisticated form of power that you see everywhere, in politics, in business, among friends. At its heart, it's the art of making people feel fascinated, of bringing them pleasure, which just naturally lowers their defenses and makes them want to go along with you. This definition right here gets to the core of the strategy. Greene's whole point is that trying to persuade someone directly, well, it rarely works. We're wired to resist, right? We have this built-in cynicism. Seduction, on the other hand, is indirect. It works by charming, pleasing, and stirring up emotions to sneak right past that conscious resistance. It's like it lowers our mental walls without us even noticing the game is being played. So how do you actually pull off this indirect influence? Well, the book is built around these seductive archetypes, 9 male and 9 female. And these aren't supposed to be personalities you're born with, not at all. They're roles you can choose to play. Think of them like strategic masks, each one designed to create a specific kind of allure by tapping into a specific psychological vulnerability in other people. And while the book lays out 18 of these types, we're going to zoom in on 4 of the most powerful and, I think, illustrative ones. By breaking them down, we can get a super clear picture of the different strategies at play for creating this incredible sense of fascination that just draws people in. Our first pair of archetypes reveals this awesome duality. I mean, they're total polar opposites in how they operate. One seduces by creating distance and emotional ambiguity, while the other uses a reputation for just bold, unapologetic desire. But here's the kicker. Greene says both of them are absolute masters of creating obsession. All right, first up, the Coquette. This archetype seduces through a masterful game of hope and frustration. They'll pull you close with this intoxicating warmth, making you feel like you're the only person in the world. And then, poof, they're distant, cool, gone. This psychological push and pull is designed to get right under your skin. It taps into our deep fear of loss and makes you obsessed with winning back their warmth. You see, the Coquette's tactics are all about creating this psychological imbalance. The hot and cold thing keeps you perpetually off kilter, always guessing. Their elusiveness, being hard to pin down, vague, it creates this void that you feel this urgent need to fill. Even throwing in a little sadness or anger is a powerful tool. It makes you feel responsible for their happiness, which is a very powerful hook. And the whole thing is built on this foundation of cool self-confidence, projecting this vibe that they don't need you, which of course only makes you want them more. The book's classic example here is Josephine and her effect on the young general, Napoleon Bonaparte. She was a master coquette. She'd shower him with affection only to completely ignore him for days when he was away on campaigns. His passionate, desperate letters, total radio silence. This calculated mix of intense focus and profound neglect supposedly drove him into a state of absolute obsession, feeling this relentless pursuit that, well, ended in their marriage. She made herself the center of his universe by refusing to be easily won. And now for the complete opposite extreme, the Rake. Where the Coquette uses subtle distance, the Rake weaponizes bold, unapologetic desire. And their number one tool? Their reputation. They actively build this image of being a slave to pleasure, someone who just laughs at rules and convention. According to Greene, it's this very air of danger and rebellion that makes them so irresistible, because they represent a thrilling escape from boring old everyday life. The Rake strategy is basically a masterclass in personal branding. It's not enough to just be a rebel. You have to make sure everyone knows you're a rebel.
Greene actually advises crafting this reputation like an artist would, letting stories and gossip do all the heavy lifting for you. The goal is to create an aura of excitement so powerful that the seduction begins before you even walk into the room. People are drawn to the legend.
And to really sharpen this idea, the book contrasts the rake with a similar type, the dandy. Now, both can be rebellious, but their motives and targets are totally different. The rake's insolence is a weapon aimed at winning over a specific person because of intense desire. The dandy's insolence, on the other hand, is aimed at conquering society as a whole. Their goal is to just shock and astonish the public. Okay, our next pair of archetypes shifts from directly messing with desire to these more subtle, atmospheric ways of influencing people. One seduces by becoming this distant, glittering object of pure fantasy, while the other works up close and personal, creating an irresistible feeling of comfort and being deeply understood.
The star archetype works by turning themselves into a living myth. They cultivate this distant, dreamlike presence, and they never reveal too much of their real, everyday self. By doing that, they become a kind of blank screen for other people's fantasies. It's this powerful ambiguity, seeming both real and unreal at the same time, that makes them an object of mass obsession. We don't really fall for the person, we fall for the illusion we've projected onto them.
A star's tactics are all about crafting an aura. It's way less about what they say and more about the presence they project. A unique style that gets attention, a non-committal attitude that keeps them just out of reach, an ambiguous expression that makes you wonder what they're thinking. These are their tools. By embodying a mythic type like the rebel or the saint or the sophisticate, they become like a character from a movie, drawing people not to the real person, but to the powerful illusion they've so carefully built.
For a political star, the book points straight to John F. Kennedy. He didn't just talk about policy. He spoke in these grand mythic themes of a new frontier and heroic space adventures. His whole family actively cultivated that Camelot aura, a carefully crafted image of glamour, youth, and idealism. This strategy lifted him from just another politician to an object of national fantasy, a symbol people could project all their greatest hopes onto.
Now, in complete contrast to the distant, glittering star, we have the charmer. The charmer's power isn't about building a myth around themselves. It's about an intense, almost hypnotic focus on their target. They use their social intelligence to make you feel like the most fascinating, brilliant, and understood person in the room. They are absolute masters of comfort and connection. The charmer's whole approach is about subtlety and patience. They stay calm under pressure, which projects strength. They listen like their life depends on it and make themselves useful, creating this feeling of comfortable dependency. They avoid direct criticism, preferring to plant ideas gently so you feel like the good ideas were yours all along. But their greatest skill, according to Greene, is this kind of social X-ray vision, the ability to sense what a person is missing or pushing down and to appeal directly to that hidden unmet need. A perfect example of this in action is the relationship between the British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli and Queen Victoria. After her husband died, Victoria had this very stern, sober public image. Everyone treated her with stiff formality. But Disraeli sensed that underneath it all was a woman who just missed being treated with warmth and affection. So he didn't address the monarch, he addressed the woman, using flattery and personal attention. By appealing to her repressed side, he completely charmed her and gained enormous political power. So we've seen 4 very different playbooks, right? The hot and cold Coquette, the rebellious Rake, the mythic star, and the empathetic charmer. They seem like they're from different planets. But Greene argues that underneath all these different masks, there's a single, unifying psychological principle that makes all successful seductions work. So, what is the secret that powers them all?
It all comes down to this fundamental 3-step process. Seduction, Greene says, always starts by stirring up a feeling of lack in the target. He references Plato's idea of Eros, the god of love who was born from need and cunning. To create desire, you first have to make someone feel that something's missing in their life. Maybe it's adventure, maybe it's romance, maybe it's intellectual excitement. You subtly create this wound of dissatisfaction. And then, only then, do you position yourself as the one and only cure.
And this all brings us to a final, really crucial question. Look, the strategies in this book are ancient. These are things historical figures were doing centuries ago. But in our world of curated social media profiles and carefully managed personal brands, where we're all projecting an idealized version of ourselves, Are these arts of persuasion really a thing of the past? Or have the tools for creating allure, manufacturing desire, and exploiting insecurity just gotten more sophisticated, making these ideas more relevant and maybe more dangerous than ever before? That's something to think about.